Hey everyone, it's Ryan, and welcome to a basics extra credit video. Let's open up Sketch and just jump right into this one. So we're going to be talking about in this extra credits video just a couple things that will kind of make you a little bit faster as you're whipping around. And this is really intended to kind of just give you some extra. We started with the basics. We talked about the interface and the layout and how things kind of work in that way. Well, this is going to expand upon it with small stuff like keyboard shortcuts. But let's get to it. So I'm going to make an artboard, tapping A. You guys know that's how I like to do it. But you go and insert another one, and that's fine. And now I'm going to go over some of the basic shapes. So you can use insert over here, but check out R, O, U, and L. I think these are the biggest ones. So I'm going to do R, and that's going to be your square or your rectangle. And I'm holding down Shift, so, Adobe switchers, holding down Shift kind of keeps things in perspective for you. I know that's a little bit different in more recent versions of Photoshop, but basically right now, that is how you keep things in perspective. If I just tapped R and didn't hold down anything, I could get that, and you bet if I hold down Option or Alt, that will give me from the center. So, very similar to what you're used to there. Next, O. Looks like a circle. It looks like an O. What a surprise. You can make those type of things very easily with O. U. Okay, this one's a little stranger. What a U is a rounded rectangle. Now, listen, I don't use this. Maybe it's intended to be very popular. Maybe everybody uses them by default, but any rectangle you make, I'm just tapping R here, you can just round it. So I don't really find the need for the rounded rectangle. It's just more points on the vector path that maybe you don't need right away. So the last one that I wanted to show you, and we're going to get into more in next lessons about creation, but V is actually what Sketch calls the vector tool, what we would call the pen tool traditionally in Adobe software. And that's how you get to your straight up pen tool. Look at that. It looks like the pen tool. Big surprise. That is how you very quickly activate that. Now, you could go through this like crazy insert menu. Oh, and of course, I should have talked about P, pencil. Yes, the pencil tool is all in here. So all of these things make an appearance, and we're going to go over them a little bit later. But those are some big ones to know, and of course, L for line, which is really nice. So R, O, L and V are almost always in my constant rotation. And of course, Shift to hold perspective and Option to keep and sort of grow from the center. Now, the last thing that I want to do is once you become a Sketch Pro, you're going to want to mess with your interface. So I want to come up here and I'm going to right click and say Customize Toolbar. You can see there's other options if you just want icons, because you're so cool and pro. Only text, which is madness to me. Icons and text, I think, is the default. And customize essentially will open up a menu that contains every single crazy thing that you might want to do. So I find myself here dropping in some extra tools that maybe aren't typically dropped into the Sketch default. So I really love to have things right up there like show pixels. I'm going to put that next to view. I quickly toggle between those things. Some functions that we can talk about a little bit later, but outlines, you can imagine what that does. That's like convert things to outlines. I love that being one click, and I'm big on scissors being up there. And we can talk about scissors a little bit later, but scissors are a really, really cool and important tool. And then I will also just have some like organizational / layout things. So I like having rotate copies available to me because that's something I have to dig into a menu for. And I also like to have make grid available for me. So I have make grid. This is really important if you're going to do sort of organizational stuff. And of course you can just put in a little bit of a space too, because I think make grid and rotate copies kind of stand on their own as a league of things. So that's kind of the basics. I might even remove some of this stuff. For example, I don't really need rotate. I don't really need edit up there. I don't use it. But I want to kind of keep it consistent for y'all. So I'm going to keep rotate up there just in case you're hunting for it. So we know where to find it. But I will definitely take shapes and put that up over here. And I just use shapes because that's like, let's say I want to go in this way and very quickly get to that menu without clicking on insert and making it 2 clicks away. Shapes is a great way to do that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, just give me the star or whatever. So one last thing before we get out of here, and that is presentation mode. So you can lay out your documents, say you get it really, really nice. Yeah, look at this. I don't want to show you too much more than what we've already talked about, so we'll say that this is my layout. Well, you can hide and show pieces of the sketch interface. Like, say that you're somebody who doesn't really care about layers. You can use Option Command 1. I'm going to show you this in a keyboard shortcut. Option Command 1. There goes the layers. Option Command 2. There goes the properties. And my personal favorite that I use all the time is Command period. And what that does is basically remove all of the user interface, and this is really important if you're going to show somebody something and you don't want to show them your work environment. This is kind of the equivalent of the full screen mode in Adobe. So that's some of the basics there. I'm going to unhide. This was your extra credit lesson. I know it's a little faster and fast-paced than normal, but let's say that you're pretty comfortable with the basics, and this is just a little bit extra for you. All right, if you've checked that out, it's time to move on to the next stuff. I'll get out of your hair.